My name is Thad Turner, and I coached here at Lehigh for 18 years. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of the program for the years that I coached here. And for the ones that were here earlier, for being involved in the program, and the ones that are here now. And I didn't wrestle until I was a freshman in high school, and we had a great wrestling coach at that time, Red Campbell, who also coached football, and I'm sure that was a reason that I got involved in football. And he was also the assistant in baseball, so I'm sure that's how I got involved in baseball also. My older brother Peck and my older brother Dick and my younger brother Phil all wrestled at Phillipsburg. And yes, it was a very competitive family. We had 11, or I shouldn't say we, my mom and dad had 11 children, so there was a competition about every day at the dinner table. Coach Campbell was a good friend of Coach Lehman, and Coach Lehman came up recruiting-wise my junior year, and I think I knew my junior year where I was going to college, and it didn't change. I think pretty much what I expected it to be, and it was a great experience for me, and one that that'll stay in my mind for a lot of years. I played baseball for 2 years at Lehigh with Craig Anderson was on the team at that time. He was a pitcher, the outstanding pitcher who later on went with the Mets. Right. And he did a great job here at Lehigh. The only reason I didn't play probably after that is I was married at the time and thought it was I spend a little bit more time with my wife. Early on was Kirk Pendleton, who I probably worked out with every day the whole time he was at Lehigh. He was a year behind me. Kirk Pendleton had a great influence on me in a lot of different ways. Jimmy Dietrichs, Dave Angel, Curtis Alexander, who was, I didn't wrestle with him because he was a little lighter, but we had some pretty good people in the room at that time. It seemed natural that I'd been involved in athletics all my life. The opportunity arose when Phillipsburg came to me and asked me to come and coach wrestling there, and so that made my decision for me, I think, really. Phillipsburg was a very good place, and I enjoyed it very, very much, but I don't think I could have passed up the chance to coach at Lehigh. And in retrospect, I'm glad I didn't pass up that chance. Well, of course, I wrestled for Coach Lehman, and I had a great love for the guy. And I tried to keep him involved in the program as long as I could because I thought he had great abilities to coach young people. And I guess that's the reason that I stayed with him and had a good time with coaching with Coach Lehman. We had one of our former wrestlers coaching at Blair Academy at that time, and that was Tom Hutchinson. And I'm sure he made Lehigh sound a lot better than it was. And I really think he was very responsible for the young guys that came from Blair Academy. I'm not sure why I get along with Hutch so well. He's in Michigan at this time, and we probably still talk on the telephone at least 3 times a month, if not more. And he's still coaching, so we stay pretty close. Bethlehem Catholic, we're very fortunate to get some of their really good kids early on. Tommy Bold, Tommy Scully, well, that's right. Tommy Scully won our first national champion when I coached. Yeah, Bernie and Mike Brown, and also Richie Santoro, and that's who I was trying to think of, right, who is the older brother of the current coach here at Lehigh. And his father also wrestled here with me. To me, the most important thing that a young guy can get out of wrestling at Lehigh is win a national title. And I thought the best way to prepare guys for the national tournament was to wrestle a great dual meet schedule, which we did. We took our lumps a lot of times because of that, but it was still yes, it was still worthwhile, and I still believe that helped our guys win national titles. That helped put some of these pictures on the wall. I'm not sure I motivated wrestlers. I think the history of wrestling at Lehigh motivated our kids. There were a lot of young men that went before the kids that wrestled for me and did very well. And I think that motivated our kids, and so I don't think they needed motivated. And I think we always had great crowds at Lehigh, and I think that motivated our kids a great deal. It's one thing to have 2,500, 3,000 people, or over the mountain to have 8,000 or 9,000 people. That has a tendency to motivate young people. Even though we had great crowds in Stabler, the atmosphere was just a little bit different. I think Grace Hall, yeah, everybody was so close, and I think it really motivated our kids even more than, and Stabler, when we wrestled in Stabler, there were 5,000 people there. But they were back from the mats a little bit more. And Grace Hall was just a great place to wrestle. I think Lehigh, for so many years, had a great tradition in wrestling. And I think the young men that came here wanted to be a part of that tradition that we had in wrestling. I'm not sure the tradition was as good anyplace else, especially in the East Coast. Maybe nationally it was, but in the East Coast, Lehigh was as good a tradition as anybody had. Pete Schuyler and Darrell Burley. They both wrestled in Jersey, and they both wrestled each other in Jersey. And in fact, Pete won the state tournament as a junior, and Darrell won it as a senior, and Pete was in the weight class. So they knew each other for a long time. In fact, they wrestled off a couple times at Lehigh. Their senior year, Darrell went up a weight at 42, and I think he did that a little bit to allow Pete a chance to wrestle at 34. Yep. And it worked out very well. Darrell won the Nationals, and Pete was third at 34. I think everyone that wrestled here had competed above their expectations. And I think that's maybe what I'm most proud of. I think those guys that do well in wrestling can feel good about it because it was because of them that they did well in wrestling. You know, I think Lehigh had a bigger impact. I think the history here at Lehigh had a bigger impact. I would like to think that I had a small impact. And probably the impact that I had was the schedule that we had. They competed against the best kids in the country. And come tournament time, they were prepared to compete there. Well, hopefully they identified me as somebody who cared, but probably thought I ran practices a little too hard.